So, you want to learn how to doordashmaxx, huh? Well, you have come to the right place. I have DoorDashed for at least 1.5 years. So these are the tips I've learned to maximize my earnings while dashing doors. Let's get started. Number 1, stop accepting bad orders. But Brainlet, what about my acceptance rate? Your acceptance rate. Listen, I get there's tempting perks to the Diamond program. There's the fact you can dash anytime, there's access to the large order program, there's the fact that you'll allegedly get better orders, but at least in my market, it is not worth it. A lot of the orders I get are either low pay, high mileage, or both.
Take your meds.
So I would need to take a bunch of orders that make no sense financially to take. And the problem with these orders is not only are they bad financially, they're usually not very good customers. They're usually high maintenance customers or customers who are trying to gyp you. So go ahead, decline those bad orders. Not only will you be maximizing your earnings, but you will also be minimizing your stress. Trust. And this is just a bonus tip, but if you want to get on so badly, around dinner time, you can normally get on if you keep checking the thing. It'll usually open up. Some other markets might be open almost all the time. Other markets, you might never be able to get in unless you schedule. So it really depends on your market. But at least in my case, I can usually get on if I'm actively looking at the app. And if your area is gray, chances are it's not going to be busy anyway. And half the time, even when I can get on, it's still not very busy and it'll just send me either garbage orders or no orders at all. Number 2, earn by time. Yeah, most of the time I would just avoid earn by time because usually earn by time is just their way to get you to accept bad orders. See, here's the 2 big flaws of earn by time. Number 1, you only have 1 decline per hour. That means you can decline 1 trashy order and then they can just send you another one, which is very likely because they admit on their thing that tips are lower on earn by time. And another thing is you have no idea, they don't show you tips when you're looking at the order. So essentially, you have virtually no control of what you accept. It's very likely to send you bad tip orders, and you have no way to avoid it, and you have no way to see the tips even if you could avoid it. And so for these 3 reasons, earn by time is very nerfed. It could be a great thing to use if you know you're gonna get a lot of great orders, or if you know the restaurants are going to be slow, which would be the case very late at night. But otherwise, I would not use it. Especially since DoorDash is known to deactivate drivers for milking the system. God forbid any driver wants to get decent pay while using earn by time. Nah, if they even suspect you are milking the clock,
Now get out! What? Get out!
they will deactivate you, and you'll basically have no way to appeal it besides to go through fucking arbitration. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're getting nothing else or it's a really slow period. Then I would use it. If you want a guide on how to use it decently, look up Nug's Guide to Using Earn by Time, where I might link in the description. Number 3, multi-app. Okay, this is not really a DoorDash tip, but yeah, like, there's a pause button, and it gives you 35 minutes, so I would definitely suggest taking advantage of that, especially if you want to get your acceptance rate up. It helps to not be berated by bad offers. And even if you don't care about acceptance rate, those bad offers will just annoy you and take your focus off other apps. So I would suggest when you're on other orders, to pause the orders on DoorDash, or if there's no good orders, to just pause the orders on DoorDash. It helps to have DoorDash around just in case you get a banger, or if it's a slow period, but honestly, DoorDash is kind of the worst app in my market, except when things are banging. And speaking of when things are banging,
Number 15.
Peak Pay. Okay, normally in my market, it only does Peak Pay during special events like holidays or during big nights like the Super Bowl. Other than that, it only does Peak Pay very, very late at night. So in the case where it's very late at night and you have Peak Pay, definitely do earn by time because earn by time will double the Peak Pay. But if it's going on earlier during the dinner hours or the lunch rush, then definitely get on during Peak Pay if you can, because very likely it is going to be super busy and you're going to get some fantastic orders. But the Peak Pay could also mean bad weather. And on that note, number 5, bad Weather. Okay, in the case of insanely bad weather, like a tornado or something, I do not recommend going out. I don't care how good the pay is not worth your life. But if it's bad weather, but it's not so bad that it's life-threatening, then in that case, as long as you feel comfortable driving, I would definitely say to go out during these periods. These could be the very best shifts you will ever have in your life. Last Friday, I went out during a pretty bad storm. It was raining very hard and it was quite windy, but it wasn't tornado-y or anything. But because of this, the orders were insane and numerous. I'm talking stuff like $15 for one item in 1 mile, or an order that's like $10 going 1 mile. And it will take 10 minutes or less. Yeah, it's hard to really explain how good this night was, but I was easily making $40 an hour that night. I don't know how much of that was even DoorDash, but I was using all the apps, and I would imagine DoorDash was probably pretty good too. Number 29, or at least that's how it feels to me editing. Learn the restaurants in your area. Specifically learn if they're slow, if they're quick, if they treat DoorDashers well or not. Okay, this isn't really a DoorDash tip more as it is just a food delivery tip, but yeah, just learn the stuff in your area. For example, if you have a $7 order, you are going to want to speed run that order. You do not want to linger on that for too long because a $7 order is not very much per hour. Time is money in this game, and I tend to average 2 orders an hour. So with those 2 orders an hour, if you're not getting a lot per order, your earnings per hour are going to suffer. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to realize I could have been making way more if I was way more picky about the orders I was accepting. I was seeing orders like $3 for a quarter mile.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
And I was thinking that was very good. But do not let the earnings per mile trick you. Yes, you should be looking at how much you're earning versus how many miles you're doing. That's a good rough indicator of how much wear you're putting on your car. However, it is not everything. You also should be looking at your earnings per hour, because you only have so much time in life. Time is the most valuable resource you have. So if you're taking lowball orders all the time, you're basically wasting your time. You're making way less than you easily could. And you can see my improvement in this aspect. Part of it is that I started by only having DoorDash and Instacart, but another part of it was I just got pickier about the orders I was taking and realizing what restaurants are slow, what orders are not worth my time, and how much mathematically I have to make per minute. I'm not saying you always have to go for an insane $40 an hour, but if you can average $20-25 an hour, you're gonna be sitting pretty. And if you can average $30 an hour, then you're doing really, really well. But again, you have to know what orders are worth accepting. Really look at the estimated time. Really look at it and think if this is a restaurant that is really known for being behind and taking a while for the order to come out. And if it's a restaurant that is constantly missing drinks and stuff and forces you to ask the customer about it. So those are my main tips on how to DoordashMaxx. I hope this was helpful and don't be a clown. Anyway, I'm gonna go get the milk again. Okay, thanks, bye!